we are going to conclude our 7-day Free Your Authentic Voice Challenge by talking about confidence. Like, what is it? What do we need to do to finally get some? And how can we make sure that we're being authentically confident, that we're not sourcing this sort of manufactured, fake it till you make it enthusiasm? We want legitimate presence and confidence. I just want to say that if you are new, thank you for joining us today. We do these lives every Monday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So hopefully you can join us live, or you can check with the members only area to watch this video later. It's all good, whatever you want to do. So we have talked hopefully in detail about what authenticity is. And in a sense, it's just being wholly, meaning fully and unapologetically present. I just want to reiterate that at the start of today's lesson. Just fully and unapologetically present. We're just bringing ourselves to each moment, and we're not trying to fix it. We're not trying to change it, especially when it comes to our voice. Now that really, it's a challenge because most of us don't trust our voices, right? Am I right? Most of us don't trust our voices, partly because we've never really done what we're going to talk about today. So hang on to your hats, because it will be hopefully a thorough lesson for you. So there are a couple of things I want you to keep in mind. There are 3 big takeaways, but I know that it's going to be really vast. When we talk about confidence, I want you guys to think about this. What does confidence mean to you? Like, confidence can be a feeling, but we can also get a sense from other people if they are being confident. Now, what is that? How can we describe that? I think it kind of comes back to the authenticity. They're just being fully and unapologetically present. Like, they just trust themselves. Like, that's what I think. And that's just me. But please let me know in the comments of today's live, because this is a discussion. But we need to jump into this first and foremost. Let's talk about our first thing. Number 1. Now, this leans into me heavily. Number 1 is be prepared. Be prepared. Now, we all have different personalities, different temperaments. Some of us require a little bit more attention to detail than others in order to feel that sense of confidence. I'm one of those people that I feel prepared when I've worked on every little detail. Not from a place of anxiety, just as a checklist. So that's just me. You might feel more confident keeping it loosey-goosey, right? Maybe working on 3 aspects of technique instead of like 10 aspects of technique. It's your taste and your style as an artist will also dictate that. So what do I mean by be prepared? A lot of times, and I've seen this happen a lot, artists will take the stage unprepared. For example, they'll barely know the song. And to me, that would make me really anxious, like so much to the point where I don't know that I would do that. I don't know that I would do that. I would lean on something I know well, and I would take that comfort and that confidence onto the stage. But a lot of artists, they sabotage themselves because they don't necessarily know their song. And so that has you sort of looking at practice in a new way. Like, how might we practice to where we can take that confidence onto the stage? Well, we've talked about this before. There are at least 3 or 4 things that I think give a general sense of preparedness. And that's obviously choose your song well. If you know that you're still working on aspects of your voice, don't choose a really complicated song. Choose a song that you know really, really well. You don't want to be able to think about it in a performance. The thinking comes in the practice. Lots of thinking comes in the practice. But in the performance, you don't want to give the audience the impression that you're thinking about yourself. Okay? So choose the right song. The other aspect may be pitches. Pitches, where are my pitches at? Like pitches. A lot of artists, a lot of them, if they sing casually, don't have the fine-tunedness of the voice to be so ingrained with the pitch. It's something that has to be calibrated nice and slowly. The body has to get a sense of the muscle memory of what that song feels like going from pitch to pitch to pitch. Number 3 is rhythm. Now this one gets really overlooked because people kind of think it's a given, but oftentimes they will sing and their rhythm will drag, their energy will drag, or they'll speed up because they're excited or they're enthusiastic. And so their rhythm gets really off. So these are just basic elements to practicing a song. And we will work on practicing a song in depth in future lives. But this is what I mean by be prepared. If you're going into your performance and your practice has consisted of just playing the karaoke over and over and over again, just singing the song over and over again from start to finish, that's not prepared. That's not prepared. That's not prepared. Partly because you need to break something down, like break it down. I love working a cappella because it's very revealing. It shows me right there just how well I actually know the song or not. And if it's not a song I've ever broken down before, and I take away the lyrics, and I take away the music, and I just do the pitches on, let's say, like a huh kind of sound, it's very humbling. Because I realized I didn't actually know the song as well as I thought I did. But when I can see that, it lets me know where I need to place my focus. So that number 1, be prepared. And again, if you're the type of performer that has like a special folder and a special sleeve, and you put your set list together chronologically, and you've got tabs and all that stuff, and you've done your sound check and you've made sure everything is plugged in, that's what I'm talking about. The type A in me loves that stuff. It's like, then I feel that all I have to do, there's nothing I have to think about. Everything is taken care of. All the details are in place. They've been practiced. So all that I have to do is just take the stage. So that number 1, be prepared. You as the artist, you can decide what that means for you. But I would even say, be so prepared that if something happens, it doesn't knock you off. That happens a lot. I think that's us as an artist. I think that's our fear, that something is going to happen that doesn't have anything to do with us, but can really sort of mess us up. We can sort of lose our footing, so to speak, in a performance and not really recover very well because that little bit of disruption caused us to lose our balance. But if you're so prepared, it's like it's written on your bones, you know it, you can just recover immediately. So that's number 1, be prepared. I want to hear Scar singing that in your mind. Be prepared. Yes. Number 2, practice presence. Now here's going from 1 to 2 is my favorite. When we get technically minded, and we have to be very technically minded when we're practicing, we've got to be very self-aware. We've got to watch ourselves gently on pitch, rhythm, lyrics, phrasing, tone quality, wherever your creativity takes you. It's like you're aware of yourself, right? And when you shift from being prepared into practicing presence, you're still aware of yourself, but you're, instead of aware of the details of the performance, you're now aware of the experience. What does it feel like? Can your body fully let go? Is there tightness anywhere in your body? Are you feeling anxious? Because you've got to be able to manage the kicking off in your mind. You know, like the kicking off everywhere. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. From note to note to note, we may have a thought about how it sounded, or we may be uncomfortable, and we're just like suddenly over aware. We're too aware, and we're pretty much miserable when we're too aware. So when you shift from just trusting that you've dealt with your details, and you're shifting from an aspect of your mind from actively thinking and actively listening to sensing, like I'm feeling. And I'm just pretty much meditating during the song. I'm constantly handling my energy to a space of calmness as I'm working through this piece. I will sometimes put my hands right on my chest, close my eyes, and just enjoy the ride of the song. I don't care about the quality of the sound at that point. There's no thought other than, can I relax? Can I relax? That's pretty much the only thought that I have. And I notice that there's a big shift from listening with my ear. This is going to sound corny, brace yourself. There's a big shift from listening with my ear to listening kind of with my heart. This feels totally different. And when I'm in that space, oh, there comes the artistry. There's the intuition and the instinct of how I actually want to sing this song that doesn't feel quite like bum, 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 like that. Like technique can feel very regimented. But when I'm in the experience, it's more like a ride. It's something I'm riding rather than judging, like listening. But we have to be able to manage that. And that's a big shift. And a lot of people don't know to practice that. And here's why it's hard. When you go from technique, there's comfort in that. There's comfort in that. You can be listening, you can be aware, you can have all your ducks in a row, so to speak, and you know, okay, I did good, if that's the case. But people can still not quite respond to your performances, or my performances sometimes, because we're thinking too much. We're thinking about what we're doing. We're aware of self. And we don't want to bring that into a performance. So we've got to be able to go, I've got to have the wisdom to know when I go from knowing it's time to focus on my details to knowing it's time to focus on my presence. And I think when you know the song through and through, you'll just naturally lean over into the instinct and into the engagement. Because that clarity and that confidence that we're all wanting comes from actually engaging ourselves, not thinking about it. Okay? But it has to be practiced. It's just like meditation. We've got to practice letting go, practice surrendering. Now, we'll probably talk more about these three in greater detail, probably through questions that you guys have or personal experiences that you want to share. But I just wanted to give you the overview of what's it really going to take to get like some real confidence, really real confidence. Seeing to the details and being prepared, you cannot, like most of the professionals we hear sound so good because they've been singing the same songs for years, which means they're constantly engaged in their instrument. They're seeing the world through chord progressions and lyric adjustments. It's like they've calibrated those things into sort of who they are. So they're thinking in that way now. But you have to know how to shift from the thinking into the feeling. So if you're going, okay, that really sounds great, and I have a good sense of how to practice technically, but how do I practice this experience thing? Again, once you know your song really well, then you can shift into, I love to put my hands on my chest and just close my eyes, just because I am still self-aware, but from a different stance, like more of a place of allowing. It's more of a surrender. So as I shift, I feel everything sort of slow down. I feel that presence, and I feel everything come through that presence. And anytime I have a thought, because I may miss a note or I may forget a lyric, I feel myself jump up into my head. That's going to be all of us. The maintenance of that presence means just come back to the moment. It's like by the time you think about what just happened, it's over. So it has no benefit to you anymore because now you're fixated on the past, right? But you've got to it's like your mind goes, alert! And then it's like, okay, fine, that's fine. It's like, it's over. It's over. Let it go. Just back to the present. So if you bring this into your practice technique, then practice presence. You can manage that kicking off in your mind. You can manage that anxiety and just sort of let it go. Let it go. Let it go, right? Just let it go. But that takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage. When you are in your thinking state, you are actively listening. When you're in your feeling state, you are not actively listening. You're actively feeling. It's different. So you will not be able to hear yourself the way that you normally do, which is why the technique kind of has to come first. But when you can relax into it, it's almost, if you've ever had this happen on stage, it's kind of like this. It's almost like you leave yourself, but you're still in yourself. And it feels transcendent. Just, I can't describe it other than that. It just feels amazing and transcendent. It feels like an active prayer, like a full-bodied prayer. And there's no awareness of the sound per se. There's only the experience of the vibrations of the sound kind of bouncing everywhere. It feels fully embodied. But when you're listening, you're in that observer headspace. When you're embodied, you're in the experiencer headspace. That's different. And it is actually different sides of the brain. So that's why it has to be practiced. You see what I'm saying? So we'll talk more about that. And I'm happy to go into as much detail as you guys. If you want to share your struggles with confidence and how we can unpack that for you, I am here for you. Number 3 is my favorite. It is my favorite, but it's almost like you have to go from 1, 2, and then 3. With 3,